And welcome to A Life Under God's Hands, part 33. I want to show you in this particular part how the miracles of God going through the ordinary course of life affected me, and of course they can affect you too. Now, I had come back from China and was adjusting to be a member of a church, just sitting there with 700 or 800 people, and it's not easy when you've been a missionary to become a nobody in the church. But shortly after that, I received a letter from Hong Kong to invite me to the Revival Church of Hong Kong to a big meeting that was going to be for prayer when China takes over Hong Kong. So the date was set, and it was a 3 or 4 day conference, and I wondered, God, do you want me to go? I talked about it to a brother in the church, and he said, well, I'll come with you, but if you want, I will pay half your fare. So that's what he did. He paid half my fare to come with me. There you see, there's the goodness of God, isn't it? Now, I told the church, I said I'm going to this Hong Kong meeting as a missionary. They said, oh, you're not going from us as a missionary. We've not sent you. You don't really belong to us. So we don't approve of you going. I thought, well, whether they approve of me or not, I'm going. I know what God has told me to do, and that was to go. You know, I'm referring to the days of the church when there was heavy shepherding going on. Pastors in churches even told you who you could marry, who you couldn't marry, which church you should go to if you left, and what job you should have. Oh, it was very, very heavy shepherding, and that was at the time when they told me I couldn't go. But anyway, I've decided, yeah, that is me. I am going to Hong Kong with this other brother. It was at that time, because the church said I don't belong to them, they said there's a series of 7 meetings, one every month. You go through this induction course, and at the end, you become a full member of the church. Well, I didn't want to do that. If God puts me in that church, He's put me in the church, and nobody's going to move me out. But I didn't want to go on an induction course. Anyway, one day the pastor asked me into his office, swayed back in his rocking chair, and said for me they would waive the rule of going through the course, and I was now considered to be a full member. Can you believe it? But anyway, that was interesting. I hadn't gone through their course. Anyway, off to Hong Kong. A week's trip in Hong Kong. I phoned a sister to ask her if I could stay with her and my friend. She said yes. I didn't tell anybody else, what I was doing, because they're not interested. Anyway, my friend and I, we arrived in this sister's home, and in the evening, and this is a 3-day conference, and the next morning we have to go and register. So we troop along to register in the centre of Hong Kong, and we found out Jackie Pullinger was going to be one of the guest speakers. Marvellous. If you've never heard of it, you should listen to what she says. But 2 amazing incidents happened. Well, 3 or 4, I don't know. You add them up. We were waiting in the queue to register, and behind me were a white couple, middle-aged, from South Africa. We talked, we exchanged a chit-chat about God, what God was doing with them and with me, and I told them I'd been thrown out of China. So their immediate response, why don't you come to us in Durban, South Africa? South Africa? I've never even thought about South Africa. It was not on my radar. But I thought, well, it's a possibility. What else got to do? Do I want to sit in the church? Not really. So I sat with them all the meetings, and we built a very, very good relationship with them. Now then, when we went back in the evening, now this is the next miracle, listen very carefully. we arrived back about 11 o'clock at night, and my friend said, there's been a phone call for you, somebody wanted Dawei. I thought, who on earth? Nobody knows where I'm staying, nobody knows her phone number, I've not given it to anybody. How can anybody know? Not even in the UK. She said it was a Chinese young man calling from China. I thought, goodness me, I've not given anybody this number, they don't know. She said, I've got his number, call him back. So I called this fellow back. And it was indeed one of the fellows who I'd been arrested with about 3 months ago. And he was the one who was healed miraculously. He threw away his medicine. He used to preach on buses. You can hear about that in A Life Under God's Hands 20 or 23. I forgot now which one it was. But he said he's safe. And he's come down to the south of China, and he's not far from the border of Hong Kong. I said, you know, this has got to be a miracle, because I happen to be in Hong Kong now. Now, look, isn't that incredible? How could he have phoned at that time, the week that I was there? And he says he's near the border with Hong Kong. Could I come over and see him? And he will explain what happened in Hong Kong after I left. Wow, that's one thing I was itching to learn. Can I get back into China? They stamped my passport. They said, you can't come back in. But anyway, do you know what I did? I thought, well, is God calling me? Is it? So I went to the visa office and I said, I need a week's visa to get into Hong Kong. I can't remember whether I had to show my passport or not, because Hong Kong was British then, so I could go in. I got a visa. A miracle. I got a visa to go back into Hong Kong and see this fellow. I'm astounded. This is God's hand again. Next day, I got on the bus to the crossing point, and of course I'm nervous, aren't I? I mean, I'm not allowed in. Who's watching me? Will I be able to get through? Will they do the passport check and stop me going through? You know, I've been through this customs post before. We used to carry about 150 Bibles in a backpack across into China for Donkeys for Jesus. We'd done it 4 or 5 times. Gee, gosh, those Bibles were small print. They were small, but they were hungry for the Word of God. They were really hungry. Can you imagine smuggling all those through? So I'm at the same place. I wasn't carrying Bibles this time. I decided it was too risky. So I went across the border, no problem. And there I am at the other side. I've got to get a taxi. I've got a town. I don't know where the town is. I've no idea. It's a small town. It's an address. I have to take a taxi because I've absolutely no idea where I'm going. This is James Bond stuff, isn't it, really? Being a donkey for Jesus, then smuggling myself through. And anyway, it took me about 45 minutes to get to this place, this town. I had no idea where it was. And I'm still really worried about it. Will he be there? I mean, is it really him? Can I really get the information? Found the town, the taxi found the apartments where he was. I went up the stairs and knocked at this number. I had no idea whose house it was. He opened the door, and there he was, my dear friend More, who I'd spent valuable time with as a believer. He's the one we prayed for, a lady who'd had scratchings on the door, and she got delivered. And here he is before my very eyes. Before my very eyes, I'm going to hear all what transpired after I was deported because I couldn't get any information myself. Oh, so I'm going to be really, really excited, and you're going to be excited to hear what happened on that momentous time. So you'll have to wait for part 34 of A Life Under God's Hand.